Every year in college football, there is a breakout true freshman, transfer, or newcomer on every team, pretty much. Across the country, everybody experiences it. So who are the newcomers that Texas A&M are looking at to potentially contribute in a meaningful way early in the 2023 season? There are a lot of guys who have transferred in, a lot of true freshmen who are poised to make immediate impacts. I wanted to rank these guys in order of most likely to impact to least likely to impact. But I've selected the top 10. So all of these guys are players that I think are going to see the field this year and maybe see it often. The higher up the list we go, the more likely they are to play and play a lot. So there's a lot of names to choose from. You guys know some of them, but I'm going to single out 10 of them for you right here. So keep in mind, everything is taken with a grain of salt this time in the year. I'm going off of practice reports. I'm going off of position needs. I'm going off of what's likely to happen. Obviously, we have nothing set in stone yet. So these are just the names that we're hearing a lot about. We've heard a lot about in spring and positions of need. For instance, linebacker depth. Safe to say you'll see a couple linebackers on this list. The running back rotation, there's one in particular that all of us have our eyes on. And corner, there's an open starter position there. So more than likely, you're going to see some newcomers play in these spots. But there are a couple other names in there that I've sprinkled in that I think we're going to need to look out for. So starting off the list, this is actually a top 11 because I couldn't keep this guy off the list. So call this guy number 11, call him an honorable mention, whatever you want. Samu Tamuamu Pepe. Did I say it right? You tell me. This guy is in a position that A&M is very flush in. He's a D tackle. And of course, A&M is very, very deep at this position. But they have no one quite like Samu. They have no one that is 380 pounds. Yeah, 380. This guy is a giant, 6'3", 380 pounds. So this is not a down-to-down type of player. You're not going to see him on 1st and 10. You're probably not going to see him on a lot of third downs. Where you're going to see him is in the third and short situations or on goal line situations where it's inches and you need someone to go in there and just clog the line of scrimmage. Think about Mount Cody from Alabama back in like 2010 or whatever it was. Just a guy that can go out there and occupy 2 or maybe even 3 offensive linemen, just go in there and tear the line of scrimmage up and just wreak havoc in there. Now, I don't think you'll see him every game. You might not see him for a couple of games, but this is a situational kind of player that I think Texas A&M can use strategically in the 2023 season. At number 10, wide receivers, a stacked room, a room full of players that you know. Evan Stewart, Moose Muhammad, Noah Thomas, Aniyah Smith. You got Ja'Day Walker, the transfer in from the mighty Grand Valley State. He is a lesser-known transfer. However, he is turning heads in fall camp. Good reports coming out from this guy, and the room needs depth. We listed 4 guys there. Jalen Preston, as we just learned, is no longer with the team. So a little bit of depth can go a long way. But this guy is 6'4". He has a build that Texas A&M does not have a lot of at this position. You have Noah Thomas, but now you have a second large, rangy receiver that can go out there and make things happen. So look for Ja'Day Walker to get in the game. Maybe not every down, but as a quality sub or in situational plays. At number 9, Torian York, position of need linebacker. He's a true freshman. Great reports coming out of spring. We can only assume that his trajectory will continue to improve in fall. When you enroll early at a program that puts you ahead of the 8 ball, and that's what he did, and as I said, he did well in his opportunities in spring. So we know there are starters at this position in Chris Russell and Edge Cooper, but you're going to need some depth there. You're going to need players to play. We know Martrell Harris will probably play, but you're going to need a couple more bodies there. So look for him to play maybe some special teams reps and maybe get in the game now and then. This is a major position of need for the Aggies. And at number 8, we have another guy in this position, the transfer out of Jackson State, J.D. Juriente Davis. Am I saying that right? I have no idea. We'll find out. But he's a physical specimen. He has an SEC-ready body. He had like 58 tackles in his last season at Jackson State. That's a much lower level of football than SEC play. His body is ready. His physicality is ready. But is he overall ready to play down to down in the SEC? We don't know yet. He's getting good reports out of camp, but take everything with a grain of salt. We don't know yet. Just look for him as a potential guy to enter that rotation. And just like Torian York, maybe get in some special teams and see the field early and often because he's experienced and he has the body. So look out for him. At number 7, Chase Basantis. He's been getting good reviews ever since he enrolled early at spring and in a position of need. The tackle spots are a known area of need for Texas A&M. Now, with Deuce Fothery kind of not at 100% yet, and Trey Zune raises a lot of question marks from his play last year, even though he improved over the course of the year, there is definitely opportunity for Basantis to see the field and maybe emerge as a potential starter. You could put him higher up on this list, but I do think that there's a good chance that Deuce Fothery does get healthy and he does become your starter at least towards the end of camp. Right now, he's still a limited participant in practice, but you never know what could happen there. The fact that he's just now kind of getting into game shape or just now able to start playing again and start moving, that makes me raise a little bit of question marks about him. I hope he's healthy. We think he's going to be healthy enough to play the season and play it as we would hope he would, which is as a down-to-down tackle that is much needed for this team, but you never know what's going to happen there. So just look out for Chase Basantis. We at least have one quality backup tackle that can play maybe early and often. Now, it's never a great thing when you're playing true freshmen on the offensive line, but we've seen it not long ago with Kenyon Green, and he was really good as a true freshman, especially with experience around him. So look for Chase Basantis to potentially play. If he does play over Zune, that means he is an absolute standout, and he is killing it in fall to beat out a guy like Zune who started all year last year. But we really don't want to see him play over Fothery because that means Fothery was hurt. And then 6 through 3 are all kind of the same position. Now, I have ranked these in order of likelihood to see the most amount of minutes, but these guys could all very easily be shifted around. This is the one spot on the defense where there is an active, open starter spot available, and that is at the cornerback position that was left vacated by Jalen Jones, who went pro last year. So at number 6, the least likely to play the most amount of minutes, but this could all change very well, Sam McCall. He's the least experienced of the transfers at this position, coming in from Florida State. He was a 4-star out of high school. He played limited reps last year, but he has played. So he's a guy that could potentially go in there and challenge. More likely, we'll see Javen Thomas, Tony Grimes, or Josh DeBerry. Javen Thomas is the true freshman. I have him at number 5 on this list. He looks like an absolute athletic specimen out there at camp. He looks really good. He's getting starter reps. Now take that with a grain of salt. Of course, with camp, you don't know what's going to happen, especially with what media is allowed to see. They could be playing games, so no one can really get a gauge on what they're doing. But Javen Thomas, the true freshman, looks good. He looks athletic, and he looks poised to fight for a role on this team. And number 4, Tony Grimes, the transfer out of North Carolina, former 5-star player. Now, a lot of Tar Heel fans would say that he was kind of an underachiever, even though he was a starter for 3 years there. But that could be just some saltiness that fans typically have when a player chooses to leave your school. Take that with all the grains of salt. But he's a long, physical defensive back that could very well see the field early and often for Texas A&M. But I think the most likely player of the transfers and the true freshman to start at this cornerback position is Josh DeBerry, former All-ACC player out of Boston College, 3-year starter. He's played a lot. He played mostly nickel. He's played safety in long stretches, and in situations he's played corner. Now, this A&M secondary has really, really prioritized versatile players, and he definitely fits that mold. He's experienced. I really think this guy should be considered the favorite as the starter for the corner position. Of course, could be wrong, but that's my pick for the starter at the cornerback position of the new players. Now, the top 2. Number 2, I think there's 2 guys you guys know are coming. Number 2, I have DJ Hicks, the 5-star player, the best player, or one of the best players on the 2023 class. He is in the crowded defensive line room. I don't expect him to start. I don't expect him to play a majority of the reps, but I do expect him to be a regular rotational piece on this defense. I think you'll see him every game. I think you'll see him for stretches of the game. I think he'll get select drives here or there where he'll play 5-6 plays in a row. I think he's the kind of player you can plug and play as a true freshman because he is just that kind of talent. So I don't think it's any surprise that I think he's the second most likely player to see the field early for this team. And at number 1, you know who it is, Ruben Owens, the 5-star back. He is already turning heads in fall camp. This is a wide open running back room. Now, there are 2 guys there in Amari Daniels and Le'Veon Moss who have more experience, but I don't think they have as much raw talent as Ruben Owens. If you look at his high school tape, you know this guy is different. You know this guy has absolute superstar Heisman ceiling. This guy could be an absolute stud as a true freshman. So I don't know if he'll start. This might be a 3-back rotation, the likes of which we've never seen under Jimbo Fisher. they're all playing in camp. I really expect Ruben Owens to play more and more as the year goes on. He's a home run threat. He's big, he's athletic, and he's only going to get better and better. So, guys, what did I get wrong? What did I get right? What is your take on the newcomers? Do you think we did good in acquiring players that can play right away coming into this season? I think all these players are pretty respectable. We're getting a lot of good reports from these guys. These are guys that we're hearing the names of early and often in fall camp. Now, of course, that stuff is all not set in stone yet. We only get a few minutes of practice viewing per practice, if we even get it. Media is only allowed at a select number of practices, and then there was the open practice last weekend. We're going off of those reports. We're going off of what we think is going to happen in positional needs. So, guys, give me your feedback. What do you think? I'll see you in the next video. Thanks, and gig 'em.